Hear my hello everybody. Welcome to the Pat's Pulpit Super Bowl pregame preview. I am Rich Hill, and with me, as always, is my good friend Alec Shane, here to talk about the New England Patriots taking on the Philadelphia Eagles here in Minnesota. Alec, before we jump into the game, very important question. How you doing?
I'm surprisingly okay, my man. It is a calm, relatively, compared to where you are, warm Sunday morning. And at this point in time, the nerves haven't really kicked in yet. I'm not that jittery. I'm a little confident at the moment, but all that could change in a couple hours. Who knows how it goes? But this is our last show, Rich. Last one of the year, so let's make it a good one.
Yeah, this year has flown by. I'm very, very surprised by the fact that the year is over. I feel like we just started. Yeah. But yeah, this is game 19. It's been a long time, my friend, and yeah. We've seen a lot of ups. We've seen a lot of downs. You know, the first quarter of the season was just a bunch of head scratchers. Where we can even go through the Buccaneers game where they won on Thursday Night Football because the offense didn't look great without Rob Gronkowski. But there was just so many question marks at the beginning of the year. As always, they overcame their struggles. They're here representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. How have you been feeling heading into this game? What's your gut telling you about, like the overall themes of the Patriots season, what this means for both Bill and Tom? Or does this game hold any additional weight for you?
I mean, obviously, I'm rooting for the Patriots to win. I think having a 6-time Super Bowl victor, Brady, be the only player in history ever to do that. He's got a lot riding on that in that respect. But in terms of what this game means versus what, say, the last Super Bowl meant, even the one before that meant, there's really no way to draw any comparisons for legacy-wise. Legacy is beyond secure at this point. It's only gravy. And the only problem I really have with this game is, should the Patriots win tonight over the Eagles, the narrative is going to be like, of course they did. That's what they're supposed to do. They win it every year. They were the favorites back in last April to win it the whole time. So congratulations, I guess you won it. C+ for the year. You met expectations. But if they lose, oh my God, they lost to Nick Foles. Brady's legacy is ruined. The talking heads are going to have a field day. So even though I'll be really happy if they win, I think in terms of the big picture, this does not hold that much weight to me.
Yeah, I mean, they were the favorites to win the Super Bowl, honestly, the day after they won last year's Super Bowl. They've held that position pretty much the entire year. I want to say there was only 1 week. It was week 13 where the Philadelphia Eagles themselves surpassed the Patriots. I think that was when the Patriots lost to the Dolphins, and then Carson Wentz got hurt, and so the Patriots went back to the pole position. And so, this is what you're expecting. I think going into this year, everyone expected to go to the Super Bowl. But if you said that they finished the regular season 13-3, I think a lot of people would be like, I'd be a little disappointed by that. After all of the hype that this team gained during the offseason, after the signing of Stephon Gilmore, the acquisition of Dwayne Allen, the signing of Rex Burkhead and Mike Gillislee, and the extension for Dante Hightower, the expectations for Trey Flowers, we can even throw the acquisition of Coney Ealy into there as well, Lawrence Guy. The Patriots seemed like they were completely stacked, and anything less than perfection, honestly, would have been a disappointment. And that was just the bar that was set. And you look at what this Patriots team has done. They've just outlasted everyone. The AFC is in ruins. They were supposed to be all the way back here. And if you talk about this current postseason run, you can only play the teams that are on the schedule, right? You can't hold it against them for who they have to play. But honestly, you're playing Marcus Mariota under a Mike Mularkey offense, which is just complete garbage. You're playing Blake Bortles, and then you're playing Nick Foles. It's just going to be very difficult for a win to add anything of value to his legacy, right? It's going to be bolstered, but it's not going to be like, this is the game that I will say determined whether Tom Brady was the greatest quarterback of all time over Joe Montana because he beat the Nick Foles-led Eagles. That's just not going to happen.
No, it's not. And I feel like we've been saying if Tom Brady wins this game, he's the greatest of all time for like 2 or 3 Super Bowls now. It seems like every time he wins one, they're like, oh, well, but if he wins the next one, then there's always going to be those detractors. That's just the way it is. But the reality is, Rich, this could very well be, you never know what's going to happen in the NFL. And this could very well be the last time I ever see the Patriots play the Super Bowl. That's just the reality of the world. They could be in it next year and the year after that and the year after that, or they could never be back again. And it's always important to keep sight of that because there are tons of fans out there that would kill to be sitting here on this pregame chat complaining about a 13-3 season and a lackluster Super Bowl. Like, what an amazing position we're in.
Yeah, and I'm here in Minnesota right now, and I am surrounded by those fans. I'm surrounded by the Minnesota Vikings fans who would love to have their chance to lose the 5th Super Bowl. They would love it absolutely and entirely. And it kind of feels that way. I just want to talk about the vibe here in Minneapolis a little bit because, first off, Eagles fans outnumber the Patriots fans at least 5-1. It's not even close. Eagles fans are just so much louder. They're going around doing their Fly Eagles Fly chant or something like that. I don't know. It's like it's very, very high school, but they're everywhere. They are the Patriots fans are, they're very quiet. They're just going about their business, embodiment of do your job. They're just going around, I'm going to eat this dinner really, really well. And then the Eagles fans are just they were meeting each other. I was at a restaurant last night, and there was these group of 3 Eagles fans, and they would get up when they saw the one walk in and go like, "Go Birds, go Birds!" Just like that's just good for you guys. I'm just happy for you. But going back to the Vikings fans, they're everywhere too. They're kind of ticked off at the Eagles for knocking them out. I'm going to say that the Patriots fans are probably going to be like the 3rd loudest or the 3rd most present of all of the possible fandoms at the Super Bowl, just because the Vikings and the Eagles are just going to outnumber them by just vast quantities.
But the Vikings fans are now Patriots fans by proxy, though, right?
Yeah. They'll boo the Eagles very heartily whenever they're on offense.
All right. So basically, we'll get the Patriots fans getting booed by the Eagles fans, the Eagles fans getting booed by Minnesota fans and Patriots fans cheering for Patriots. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. That explains it pretty well. And then you'll have, Roger Goodell there rooting for the Eagles as well. But anyways, so let's just jump right into the game right here. We got some good matchups going on both sides of the field. This is the Eagles and the Patriots ranked 1st in the NFL. They tied for 1st in point differential. I believe that the Patriots scored 1 more point than the Eagles, and the Eagles allowed 1 fewer point than the Patriots. There's something like that. They're pretty much identical over the course of the full season. Reached it 2 very different ways, though. So the Eagles, they rank 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards. The Patriots, they got it off the back of Tom Brady and throwing the football because they haven't really run the ball too consistently until Deion Lewis emerged down the stretch. Flip side, Eagles have just suffocating defense, and they don't allow many points whatsoever. They force a lot of turnovers. They score a lot of defensive touchdowns. Patriots are doing their whole bend but don't break sort of thing. Don't allow many points, but they rank like 30th in yards allowed. They don't force many turnovers whatsoever. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Alec, what are some of the matchups that you're seeing that are going to be very, very important today?
Yeah, I think this game is going to come down to what happens in the trenches, offensive line versus defensive line. I think on both sides of the ball. I think the Patriots' offensive line versus the Eagles' defensive line, particularly along the interior, is really going to dictate how this game goes. You figure Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox are going to be in the middle there. That means that the guards are ISO'd on one of those guys. David Andrews can only team up on double team one of those guys. So one of those two is going to be one-on-one with either Shaq Mason or Joe Thuney, and that's a mismatch in my opinion. So they'll have an opportunity, the Eagles will, to win some one-on-ones. And what Tom Brady's really good at is reading the defense, stepping back, stepping up into the pocket, and then making his throws. But if that middle of the line collapses and he has to throw a little more under duress, that could be a real problem for getting separation for these receivers. I think the receivers can get separation, and the running backs can get separation against the linebackers. The pieces are in place for the receivers to have huge days if Brady can step up. So my biggest key to the game for the Patriots is the offensive line, particularly David Andrews, Joe Thuney, and Shaq Mason against probably Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, and whoever kind of mixes in there in the middle of the line, how they max up or mix up their blitzing schemes.
Oh, yeah, I think that's going to be incredibly important as well, too. And as you said, Fletcher Cox is probably one of the top 3 defensive tackles in the NFL. Brandon Graham is a top 5 pass rusher on the edge. The Eagles have a defensive front that is kind of perfectly structured to get after Tom Brady. Von Miller, I wrote about this earlier, is going on a tour talking about how you can beat the Patriots offense. And he says you have to win with 4, which we all know. We've known that since 2007. But he showed a nice little play that the Denver Broncos were able to pull off against the Patriots in 2015-16 AFC Championship game, where they had DeMarcus Ware on one side, You had Von Miller on the other side, and they're just squeezing on the outside. But they're doing it so Tom Brady doesn't have a place to slide out. And then you had Malik Jackson just destroying everything, pushing the pocket backwards. And so the only direction Tom Brady could go would be backwards. That'd be bad news. That'd be a sack. And so Tom Brady had nowhere to go, and he just went down. And something that I really appreciated learning this week was from Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers was saying that he was most impressed by Tom Brady's development over the past 2 or 3 years at how he slides and throws out of the pocket. You know, he used to just be an in-the-pocket passer. He would have a lot of, agility within the pocket itself. He was very, very comfortable shuffling around in the pocket and avoiding the pressure, but he always stayed within the confines of the pocket. But over the past couple of seasons, he's added the ability to, if the offensive line creates a gap, he'll go out into the open space. You know, he's not going to run. He's not going to scramble. It's not a bootleg or anything like that. But he'll move horizontally towards the hashes, and then he'll be able to get rid of the ball. And so if the Eagles are able to use their 2 defensive ends to kind of hold that line, make sure Tom Brady can't go horizontally, Fletcher Cox could have a very, very big day because he is a great bull rusher. Joe Thuney is atrocious against the bull rush. And while Shaq Mason is probably the Patriots' best offensive lineman, I would still take Fletcher Cox over him, especially with the pass rush, because Shaq Mason is a far superior run blocker than a pass blocker. So I think that the rotation that the Eagles have on their defensive line could really cause the Patriots a lot of anguish today. But an easy counter for that the Patriots like to do is utilize their running backs in the passing game. You know, throw quick passes to Dion Lewis or James White or Rex Burkhead in the flat. How do you see that matchup?
Well, it's a good question because we talked about almost the exact same thing, Rich, against the Jaguars in the AFC Championship game, and the Jaguars just ruined any kind of play-action bootleg screen pass the Patriots tried to do, and they ended up basically going to Brandon Cooks on the comeback route. That was more or less their offense in that game, and the occasional deep pass, which got DPI. So I don't think that the Eagles linebackers match up to the Jaguars linebackers, which maybe makes it easier for the Patriots to utilize the running backs as receivers. But the Eagles have an entire game tape of film of the Patriots running backs completely unable to get anything going in the screen game. Are you worried about that part of it?
That is fair. That was going to be my big matchup to watch. My key to the game is whether or not the Patriots running backs will be able to beat the Eagles linebackers in whatever game capacity. You know, if the Eagles blitz their linebackers, which teams like to do in order to keep the Patriots running backs in their backfield, can they hold up against them? Because Nigel Bradham, Michael Kendricks, they're 2 pretty athletic running or linebackers. And so the Patriots could have their hands full in the backfield. But if they don't blitz them, if they only want to rush 4 because they don't want to blitz anyone, leave a vacancy for Rob Gronkowski or someone to kind of generate a lot of yards right up the middle of the field, Danny Amendola, if they drop those linebackers into coverage, the question is whether can they cover James White, Dion Lewis, or Rex Burkhead when they're running into the flat. And Eagles fans like to think that they definitely can. I don't think that they're as athletic as the Jaguars linebackers. Telvin Smith is on a whole other planet. So is Miles Jack. But Nigel Bradham is not a bad coverage guy. Michael Kendrick, they're not bad coverage guys. I would definitely say that they're in the upper echelon of the linebackers that the Patriots have faced this season. But my question is, do you need to have truly kind of transcendent athletes at the linebacker position like the Jaguars had, or even we can think of last Super Bowl with Deion Jones before, you know, he got exhausted in the third quarter and the whole scale tipped. If you have those linebackers, they can definitely cover these running backs in the flat. I just don't know if Kendricks and Bradham are capable of covering Dion Lewis for an entire game. And I think that is where the Patriots have their advantage, and that's how they're going to have to move the chains, because if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, if I'm Jim Schwartz, their defensive coordinator, I'm going to play a lot of press coverage. I'm going to say my defensive front 4 can absolutely get after Tom Brady. If within 3 seconds, that is going to be their time frame. I would expect the Eagles' deep pass rush to get to the Patriots, to get to Tom Brady within 3 seconds. I know that the Jaguars have a fantastic defensive line and the Patriots stopped them. I don't want to say that should be the expectation. That I don't want to say it's a fluke, but Patriots fans should not expect that to happen again. And the best counter to getting that pass rush is the quick passing game. And the best counter to the quick passing game is to play tight man coverage. So that's what I would do if I were the Eagles. And that could leave them a little susceptible to Brandon Cooks down the field, maybe Chris Hogan or Rob Gronkowski on the deep routes. But that's probably the Eagles' best way to win, because you make the Patriots take the lower percentage throws. Maybe you'll force a few punts, give the ball back to the Eagles' offense, allow them to kind of run and grind out the clock, because you're not going to win a shootout against the Patriots if you have Nick Foles at quarterback.
You made a good point about running and grinding out the clock. The Eagles are very good against the run. They're not a team you can run on well. Do you see the Patriots trying to run the ball at all today, or are they going to more or less abandon the running game and use those short passes as the running game?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question, because the Eagles, I believe they ranked first in the NFL in yards allowed against the rush, because part of it was they always had a huge lead for a lot of the season, so other teams had to abandon it. They had to throw it to catch up. But they have a very, very good defensive front. And part of the weakness with the Jim Schwartz defense is that he likes to utilize the wide 9 defensive front, which means that you have 2 defensive tackles in the middle of the field. And then instead of having your defensive ends kind of just on the outside shoulders of the offensive tackles, they move out a little bit further, where they would be on the outside shoulders of where the tight ends would be. And so part of that is to bolster the pass rush. Those guys have a better direct angle towards Tom Brady in the pocket, and they can squeeze him a little bit more easily. It makes it more difficult for the offensive tackles. The weakness there is that you now have huge gaps up the gut. And it's important that it stresses the linebackers of the Philadelphia Eagles to make a decision, because they're going to be responsible for a lot more space than linebackers in a typical defense. And so the Patriots would theoretically want to run up the middle against this wide 9 defensive front. But when you're dealing with Fletcher Cox and Timmy Jernigan, that's probably not a winning conversation that you're going to have. So one game, I don't expect to be a huge part of the Patriots offense. I do expect the play action to just kind of be a cornerstone, because those linebackers are already going to be stressed. I would expect the Patriots to just at least feign that they're going to run the ball up the middle, make the linebackers think, make them use their aggression, because this is an extraordinarily aggressive defense, make them try and crash the line of scrimmage. And that should open up some opportunities for either Danny Amendola or Rob Gronkowski up the seam. There should be opportunities for the play action to kind of yield a lot of yards, especially because I think that, as you said earlier, the Patriots' skill receivers, the skill players, win the contest against the Eagles defenders, in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's a good matchup. Patriots receivers versus Eagles secondary. I think the coolest matchup to probably watch today is Rob Gronkowski against, I'm guessing Malcolm Jenkins will probably draw that assignment. Jenkins is a good safety. He's still a mismatch. Gronkowski is to Jenkins. And I'm curious to see how the Patriots are going to utilize Gronkowski, especially if the Eagles start getting a lot of pressure. Are they going to have to leave him into chip? Is he going to be running up the seam a lot? Is he going to be more a blocker on like those Brandon Cooks kind of like little shovel end around routes? I think Gronkowski really, I mean, he should be my X factor for today, Rob Gronkowski, because he's kind of the guy, but I'm actually going to go with James Devlin as my X factor today, mainly because of my earlier point about the middle of the line. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham against David Andrews and Joe Tooney and Shaq Mason. That's going to be a very difficult matchup to go for. And Devlin's going to have to be the guy that helps to kind of block the double team, whoever the chipper is on that respect. And Brady actually also likes to motion Devlin out wide as like a slot receiver, just to help read the coverage, see if the defense gives him. And if maybe they have to have miscommunication, they put a cornerback on Devlin, who's basically a decoy. That means somebody else is wide open in the middle of the field. So while Gronkowski is going to be probably the most important offensive piece on the field today, not named Tom Brady, I got to go with Devlin as a pass protector and as a, I guess, additional kind of spyglass for reading the defense today.
That's good. I like that a lot. The Patriots do like to utilize their two back sets, one with Devlin. It's going to be very important. They get a lot of success out of that. It really should stress that Eagles defense. And part of it is due to there are some matchups that lean in the Eagles' favor, I will say. And so one of it is that Patrick Robinson, their slot corner, could have an edge on Danny Amendola. I love Amendola and what he's able to accomplish on the field. Patrick Robinson has been lights out at the slot corner position all season. So he had a pick 6 last game against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know how much the Patriots want to test him. They have Ronald Darby, who is a very, very good cornerback. And then opposite of that, they have Jalen Mills, who is not as good, or maybe just doesn't have the same kind of upside. So my X factor is actually going to be Brandon Cooks, because I'm very curious to see how the Patriots utilized him. He really rose to the occasion in the AFC Championship game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But when you look at the defensive back matchups and how Patrick Robinson matches up against Danny Amendola, and then you have the decision, should you put Brandon Cooks against Jalen Mills or put him against Ronald Darby? I would say you sacrifice Chris Hogan and say he goes against Ronald Darby. The Eagles love to play sides with their defensive backs. And so you're able to dictate the matchups pretty regularly, unless they just throw a wrinkle in their entire plan and start playing shadow the entire game. You could probably sacrifice Chris Hogan. And there's rumor that the Patriots use Chris Hogan against the Jacksonville Jaguars just to gas them the entire game, just run go route after go route. That would open up some passing lanes, typically for the running backs underneath as receivers, just because that just puts the defensive backs further down the field. I think they could replicate that. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Hogan was asked to do that against his former teammate with the Buffalo Bills. So just run down the field, run down the field. If he's open, maybe Brady will test him, but most of it is just to get Darby out of the play entirely. And that would leave Brandon Cooks against Jalen Mills. Brandon Cooks runs like a 4-3. Jalen Mills runs a 4-6. I take Brandon Cooks in that matchup every single time. And if he can have a similar game against the Eagles like he had against the Jaguars, where you include the defensive pass interferences that he drew, you include the receiving yards, and he can add some yards as a rusher too. If Brandon Cooks is able to have another one of those high-quality games, then the Patriots should be in great position, because if Brandon Cooks is hitting all of these passes, it will force the Eagles' defense, it'll force their their secondary to kind of shift and cover him. They won't let him just get away with it the entire game, and that should open up opportunities for other players for the entire second half.
That's awesome. That's a good point as well. The real question, I guess, when it comes to the Patriots offense, and the most important one we should probably ask is, do the Tom Brady-led Patriots score their first quarter points in the Super Bowl tonight?
Ooh, yes. That's my guess. My guess. Emphatic yes, because that would just be absurd if they went 8 Super Bowls and scored 0 first quarter points. There's some discussion about how it's not going to say it's on purpose. Of course, they want to score points, but how the Patriots spend the entire first quarter of the game just feeling out the opponent, figuring out what they're trying to do, get some of their plays on tape, and just sort of survive, right? That's kind of how the Patriots like to do it. They want the other team to empty out their entire arsenal in the first quarter, and if they can withstand that, then they can just go on the front for the rest of the game. And so I still think that the Patriots will score their first points. Maybe it'll only be a field goal, but I think they break the trend and get some. What do you think?
I hope so, because right now they're -2 for first quarter points. They have a safety the offense have given up. So I'd like to see, again, I think this, again, we're talking about how we were kind of whining about our 6th Super Bowl and 13-3. I think we Patriots fans deserve a blowout Super Bowl. I want it to be like 21-0 in the first quarter. Like, I just want to have fun in the Super Bowl. I want to enjoy a game for once. It should be really nice. So I'm going as well with you. I'm going first quarter points. Hope they come out swinging. Brady's good in domes. He plays well. It's a little faster game. He excels there. So, yes, I think the Patriots will score their first quarter points today as well. And it's good because the defense has actually always stepped up in the first quarter as well. I think there are 13 points total allowed in all Super Bowls. Patriots defenses have been. So that's what's kept them in it. There's never really been any big deficits coming into the first quarter. Hopefully that will remain as well. So let's switch to the defensive side of the ball now, Rich. What's your kind of key to the game defensively for the Patriots?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes with what we were talking about with the potential score, is that Nick Foles is the clear and obvious key for the Patriots defense. What version of him shows up at the Super Bowl will dictate whether this is a high-scoring affair or if the Patriots are just going to blow him out of the water. And my thought, very similar to the AFC Championship game against the Jaguars, is that if the Patriots are able to build a 2-score lead, they'll be able to drop back into coverage, and Nick Foles won't be able to stop it. Nick Foles won't be able to move the ball down the field if the Patriots are able to eliminate their rushing attack, because that neuters their RPOs, their run-pass options, and that it's only like 20% of their offense, but that's where the Patriots struggle the most. They struggle to contain the run to the outside, and if they don't have to worry about the rushing attack, then the Patriots are going to be in great position to kind of just cinch the vices on Nick Foles. And the New England secondary, in my mind, matches up pretty well against the Eagles offense. I'm not going to say that they win outright, but New England does match up well. Stephon Gilmore matches up well against Alshon Jeffrey. Patrick Chung matches up well against Zach Ertz. You got Malcolm Butler and Eric Rowe against Torrey Smith and Nelson Aguilar. You got throw in Devin McCourty, Jerron Harmon, take away those deep passes. And then, the Patriots win in the secondary. It's in the rushing game that I'm not so sure about, because the Eagles have the best offensive line in the NFL by most rating agencies. The Eagles have a great job there. Patriots defensive front has not been the best. You know, they did a great job in the playoffs against the Jaguars and against the Titans, so they'll have to do it again. The Titans have a really good offensive line, so maybe the Patriots have it in them to slow down this Eagles front. But I think the clear edge goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you go to the running backs. You have LeGarrette Blount, you have Jay Ajayi and Corey Clement. Patriots linebackers have not done a fantastic job defending the running backs, either by choosing the right gap to defend if you're a Landon Roberts, or making sure that you keep the edge contained if you're Kyle Van Noy. And actually, maybe in recent weeks, I wouldn't put Kyle Van Noy or Marquise Flowers in there. But it is a problem that the Patriots have had over the course of the season. So if you can eliminate that passing game, or sorry, if you eliminate that rushing game of the Philadelphia Eagles, put the game on Nick Foles. If bad Nick Foles shows up, it'll be a lot easier to accomplish.
No, I'm with you. I think it's back into the trenches we go. Again, Eagles offensive line, Patriots defensive line. That's edge Eagles, in my opinion. Even though they're without their all-star left tackle, lost him earlier in the year, they still compensated for that very, very well. And they are running the ball well. You know, Blount is, we all know what LeGarrette Blount's capable of. Jay Ajayi is a great running back. That's a lot of versatility. And I think the game always has, again, this never anything new we're talking about in terms of how you beat the Patriots. You keep Tom Brady off the field. You get pressure with 4 on the defensive side of the ball. You run the ball well as an offense and generate play action passes, take some shots downfield. I think that's what they're going to be able to do, and it really is. And I don't know the answer, neither do you, like which Nick Foles is going to show up. And that really, really is the key to the game defensively. If good Nick Foles shows up, it's going to be a very long day, I think. But if bad Nick Foles shows up, he bows to the pressure or whatever the case may be, the Patriots really get the best of him. Because one thing Belichick and Patricia are definitely going to do is keep it interesting and keep it confusing. They may go really vanilla to start, which is really frustrating. As we talked about in the first quarter, the kind of feeling out phase. We're going really basic with our packages, see what the Eagles like to run, adjust in the second, third, and fourth quarter, and that's kind of maddening. But that also might risk getting Foles confident if he's a little jittery early on in this game. Might behoove Belichick and Patricia this game at least to throw that out the window, really go aggressive early on, get Nick Foles a little rattled, make him feel like he's out of his league, out of his element a little bit, and then force his mistakes later on, you know?
Yeah, and well, Nick Foles for most of the regular season, if you look over the past like 3 years, he's been like barely a 58% passer, right? He's like not the most accurate guy, but over the past 2 games, he's been completing like 78%. He's been off the charts. And so the Patriots need to disrupt that. They need to bring the old Nick Foles back. They need to not give him any of those easy throws, because this is a Doug Peterson offense. It's going to be very similar to what we've seen with the Kansas City Chiefs in years past that are led by Alex Smith, where the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of the kryptonite to the Patriots because of what their offense is willing to do. And what that's very, very important, because the defense of the Patriots sets out every single week to say, we're going to make the other team lead 10, 11, 12 play drives to get into the red zone. And if they score after leading that drive, so be it. But we're going to make them earn it just by leading long drives, because statistically speaking, if they're turning out that, they're going to have to get what, 3, 4, 5 third down conversions on those drives. And if that's the case, then the Patriots will have a better opportunity to force a punt, or, you know, they'll just make it more difficult for them to drive down the field. And so this is just what the Patriots need to do, you know. But with Nick Foles, what the Eagles like to do, what Doug Peterson is willing to do, is say, you know what, sure, let's do it. Let's just dink and dunk our way down the field. That's what Alex Smith was so great at for the Chiefs, is just looking at it and saying, you know what, I'm fine taking 6 yards here. I'm fine checking down to the running back. I'm fine throwing a quick little pass to our slot receiver, because they'll just move the chains eventually. They'll just keep taking whatever the Patriots give them, and they're not stressed about saying, well, we need to hit an 80-yard play here because you play against the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger. He's going to be taking his deep shots. He's not going to be taking what's given. But you have Nick Foles and a Doug Peterson offense. They will be taking that. So the Patriots can't say, let's just sit back into our coverages. Let's see if Nick Foles can complete them, because we have seen over the past 2 games, he can. So they need to play tight coverage. They need to force Nick Foles to win over the top. They can't let him have anything easy. And you need to give your defensive line enough time to disrupt him in the pocket, because if he gets a clean pocket all day, he's going to be fine. I think Pro Football Focus showed that when you have a clean pocket, there's no difference between Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. But if you get a little bit of pressure on Nick Foles, he becomes the worst quarterback in the NFL. So that's what the Patriots have to do. They have to generate a lot of pressure. Do you think that the Patriots defensive line will be able to do that?
I don't know, man. I mean, have you seen anything this season that leads you to think they can? I mean, this
Titans
is not
game. The Titans game where they had like a
game.
billion sacks.
Yeah, no, that again, maybe that's what we can look at. But you know, this Patriots team, this generating pressure is not what they do. Getting turnovers is not what they do. They let you kind of march down the field at will and then stiffen up at the red zone and hold you to field goals or make you make a mistake. That's kind of how their modus operandi is this year. Will they change it up? Possibly. But if you put a helmet on a helmet, Patriots D-line, Eagles O-line, it's going to be very difficult to generate pressure with just that. So it's going to have to get creative with your blitz packages.
Well, how would you feel, though? What are the odds, then, that James Harrison is going to be the Patriots Super Bowl savior here? What are the odds on that happening?
How sweet would that be? It's like the Eagles are driving late with a chance to win it, and like Harrison with a strip sack. I don't want to put any good or bad juju out in the ether, but I mean, it's funny. You know, Steelers fans are still really salty over how that ended. You know, Patriots fans that are Patriots coaches did not ask him to come in and like save the team as like, you know, generate 12 sacks, but he's been able to set the edge. He's good for 2 or 3 pressures a game. He had a strip sack against the Jaguars. He does the job he's being asked to do very well. And having him in there has been a huge godsend. I almost want to make him my X Factor. I was thinking of making him my defensive X Factor today. However, I just look at there's a player on the Eagles who I have a lot of trouble with. His name is Torrey Smith. He's played the Patriots, I think, 5 or 6 times in his career. He averages over 20 yards a catch every single time he plays the Patriots. So my X factor today is whoever covers Torrey Smith, probably Eric Rowe. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be on it, but
might be Malcolm Butler. It might be Malcolm Butler.
Whatever defensive back is on Torrey Smith needs to stop him from catching passes over the top. Nick Foles is not as good as Joe Flacco was at throwing those pass interference balls where like it's just underthrown and Torrey Smith stops. They don't have that kind of chemistry, but I think he's going to be the guy that if they blow the top off the defense, it's going to be a Foles to Smith kind of play action, read pass option kind of thing. And he could have like 3 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown today. I can see him have that kind of stat line. So whoever has to cover Torrey Smith has to step up today.
That's pretty consistent, too, with what he has been able to accomplish against the Patriots. You weren't exaggerating for anyone who's watching this right now. I'm just going to run through Torrey Smith's stat line against the Patriots. He does have 5 games, 3 catches for 70 yards, 6 catches for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you had 3 catches, 62 yards, 4 catches, 70 yards, 3 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Very, very consistently just gets those huge chunk plays. Malcolm Butler, if he is asked to cover him, which I do believe will happen because Nelson Aguilar is the slot receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, that typically that assignment goes to Eric Rowe. Butler bites on double moves. Torrey Smith loves the double moves. Even if he doesn't get the catch, I would not be shocked if Malcolm Butler was flagged for a defensive pass interference call. Butler will need to have the game of his life in this one because I expect Stephon Gilmore to handle his job against Alshon Jeffrey. Overall, yeah, that's a really good X Factor, though. I really like that one. I'm going to move a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, though. My X Factor is going to be Kyle Van Noy. I know if going Brandon Cooks, Kyle Van Noy, let's let me choose like Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski while I'm at it. But Kyle Van Noy is going to be huge for the Patriots. He's going to have to really step up at setting the edge. I also expect him to be a big part of the Patriots pass rush when they use their bear front early on. I would not be shocked if he was kind of asked to line up on the line in the bear front, but also he's going to be the key for a lot of the run pass options. He's going to have to be very, very sound in all of his decision-making for the entire game. I expect him to do that. He has shown this entire season that he is capable of rising to the occasion and being that starting linebacker that the Patriots really need. He should be able to cover all of their running backs out of the backfield. They're all bigger, which is very important to note. Ajayi is like 220. Corey Clement is 220. Like Garrett Blunt's like 600, so they have a lot of beef back there. So Kyle Van Noy having a strong game, preventing the Eagles from getting any of their rushing attack going. His day will not end because he will also be important at dropping back into coverage, taking away Zach Ertz, who is the leading receiver, the leading yards gainer for the Eagles this season. So wherever Kyle Van Noy goes will be incredibly important for the Patriots' defensive success.
No, this is a game really could have used Dante Hightower. I feel like this would have hit kind of game where he really shines, but he's not there, so what are you going to do? But again, Rich, should be a really good game. One thing we haven't really talked about yet is one of Belichick's favorite words, and that's intangibles. There are a couple of intangibles going into this game that if in my kind of tinfoil hat Patriots conspiracy theorist world don't bode too well for old Alex Hart and Ticker later on today. One is Tom Brady has been on the cover of John Madden Football this year. So far, there's been no problems with any of that Madden curse. Tom Brady last night was named NFL MVP. Since 2000, NFL MVPs are 0-8 in Super Bowls. And the Patriots are playing an NFC East team with a ferocious defense and a quarterback who's pretty unproven and no one's really counting on to do anything special. The last time the Patriots played that exact combination, they lost 2 Super Bowls. That's kind of a trifecta of suck coming into this game. Are you worried?
Well, you can also add in that no passing leader from the yards perspective has ever won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady led the NFL in passing yards. He would be the first in NFL history to do it. After the past 2 Super Bowls, man, how can you say that it weighs against them, right? That's my thought. That's my thought, is that everything they have shown over the past 4 years is that you can't count them out. Curses mean nothing. Malcolm Butler got that interception, 25-point comeback. Even if they go down 30 points in the first quarter, I'm just going to be like, yeah, they could come back. I don't know. I'm not ever going to count them out. It could be like the 2-minute warning, and they can still find a way to come back. I don't know. All of these curses are meant to be broken, right? And that's what's going to happen this year. Tom Brady is just going to collect them all, just knock them down. Those 40-year-old quarterback winning his 3rd MVP award. He can't be stopped. This is going to be the beautiful finale in the Tom versus Time video series. It's just him overcoming the odds and just taking down all these curses with him. Okay. My question for you. He is MVP. He has Rob Gronkowski, which is super important. Gronk is just such a big factor. If you are the Philadelphia Eagles, how do you stop it? How do you stop the inevitable wave of the Patriots on all sides just coming to crush their dreams? That's just my thought, is that it's just they're so hopeful. If you talk to literally every single Eagles fan here, they expect Philadelphia to win. They expect Doug Peterson and Nick Foles to beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And I just can't get on board with that. I just can't. We can move on to predictions now too, but those curses, Bill Belichick makes the curses. So it's just he is a curse to the league. So Belichick and Brady, they don't care about those curses. They're going to overcome all odds like they have been doing all year. They have been doing for the past 4 years. I'm going with the winning 3 out of 4. Justin Timberlake, I know he was in the 3rd Super Bowl, or I guess the 2nd Super Bowl last time. Now he's in the 3rd one. But there's a lot of things going in the Patriots' favor too. If we're going a little bit on the spooky side, they're going to lose all of their coaches, just like they did after the 2004 season. So, yeah, Patriots are going to be more than fine. The curses, they're probably real for every other team other than the Patriots.
Here's hoping, buddy. Here's hoping. It is kind of weird how they're going back-to-back against the Eagles again after beating the NFC South champions the year before, losing both their coordinators. It's kind of a freaky and creepy little eerie thing. And the Patriots are also undefeated while wearing white, which is also an important thing to think about. They have the white jerseys on today, which also might be a curse working in the Patriots' favor. Real question, though, Rich, I guess I should ask you, this time tomorrow, is the city of Philadelphia still standing, or is it a burning pile of rubble?
So regardless of the game, it'll probably be just burned to the ground, just because that's what Eagles fans do. They're okay with it. I know that's like, they know it. They embrace it because, it's a celebration for them to be here. Good for them. It reminds me of, what was it, Vancouver after the Bruins won the Stanley Cup, where, if the Canucks won that Stanley Cup, they would have done the exact same thing. So whatever happens, Eagles fans, they're either just going to be celebrating out of their mind and good for them, or they're just going to be coping. And you know what? That's good for them. They've had a long and tortured history as Eagles fans. And so to lose again to the Patriots, that would just be, I don't know, cherry on top for the Patriots. But I think this game means a lot more to the Eagles than it does to the Patriots fan from just an overall mental standpoint.
100%. And Philly's a great sports town. Their fans they're quote unquote, this is their own kind of, they're self-declared scumbags. They own it. They like to, I'm not bashing Eagles fans. They kind of like own their scruffiness and the way the police have to grease up the poles so no one rides up them and tears down. These are all things they embrace, and God bless them for. And I'm with you, man. I don't have any problem with the Eagles. Obviously I'll be upset if the Patriots lose, but Philly's first championship. It's always cool to see a city get their first win. There's a lot of good narratives surrounding this game. The question is, though, Rich, will the Eagles win today? Patriots, Eagles, Super Bowl 52. Who you got?
I'm going with the Patriots. As I said, I'm going to roll with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. This will be a low-scoring affair in the first half. This should be, as we said, the Patriots are going to wait it out, figure out what the Eagles have in their arsenal, what they're waiting to, what's in their bag of tricks, and maybe it'll be a 10-10 game at halftime, something like that. Maybe the Patriots will be up 13-10, 10-7. It's not going to be a huge lead, but I expect the Patriots to be in a strong position at halftime for the third quarter of the game to take place and for the Patriots to pull away. I expect the Patriots just to completely dominate in the third quarter. I know that they haven't done that historically in the Super Bowl, but I would expect the Patriots to have a 2-score lead by the end of the third quarter. The game would be in Nick Foles' hands in the fourth quarter. Patriots are able to secure their victory. New England's going to win this one, in my mind, 31-17.
31-17?
Yep, that's my guess.
All right, I like that. I'm also rolling with the Patriots only because I'm a homer. I don't know what I'd say otherwise. I'm not going to who would ever pick against his team in the last prediction pregame show of the season. That'd be a ridiculous thing to do. Curse aside, karma aside, juju aside, the parallels between the 01 to 04 Patriots and the 14 to 17 Patriots are just too weird to ignore. There's so much going on that just parallels these two kind of bookended back-to-back potential back-to-back championships for me to pick anything against the Patriots. And because of that, I'm actually going with the exact same score that would be last time the Patriots beat the Eagles, 24-21. Okay. I actually might even think that the Eagles are like driving late with a chance to like tie it with a field goal, and like he misses or a block or something kind of goes awry to prevent overtime. Patriots hang on to win this one in a very low scoring for the Patriots at least game. 24-21 Patriots.
Fascinating. Well, you just actually made me think of something before we sign off here. What's your thought on fans that bet on the other team to win? Because that way, if the game goes down, then either their team wins and they're happy about it, or they lose and then they win their bet. What's your thought on that?
Maybe it's my inner pessimist, but I actually feel the exact opposite. It's like either way, I either lose money or my team loses, you know? So like, I guess it's like if you're a glass half full kind of guy, maybe that's what you want to do, but I'm definitely a glass half empty kind of guy. And in my mind, either way, you're kind of screwed because you're either losing money or your team's done. So why would you even pretend to do that? The smart gamblers never bet with their heart. You never bet on your own team. You leave the Patriots out of it. And you bet on like, if I was a gambling man, I bet on the Browns to like score points. Like how many points will the Browns score in the loss they're about to endure? You know, that's what I would do.
You just assume that they're going to lose too. Right. Yeah. Well, we have a lot of information that we've put on Pat's Pulpit over the past 2 weeks, actually, as we've been preparing for the Super Bowl game. So make sure you go to patspulpit.com and check it out. Follow us on Twitter at Pat's Pulpit. Alec, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, Rich, another awesome season in the books. It's been great to break these games down with you on these pregame shows. One more podcast to do it with. Hopefully it's a good one tomorrow and we do our last podcast of 2017. But regardless of outcome, it's been an absolute blast breaking it down with you, buddy.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Until next time, everyone, you have